Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you a simple question. Before your feet even touch the floor each morning, what is the first conversation you have? I'm not talking about the conversation with your spouse, your children, or your coworkers. I'm talking about the one that happens inside your own mind. Because whether you realize it or not, that quiet conversation is already setting the direction for your entire day. Most people wake up and immediately begin reacting. They react to yesterday's problems. They react to today's schedule. They react to bills, deadlines, disappointments, and responsibilities. Before they've even had breakfast, they've handed control of their emotions over to circumstances. Then they wonder why life seems to keep repeating itself. The answer is simple. If every morning begins with the same thoughts, every day will produce the same actions. And if your actions never change, neither will your results. Success doesn't begin when opportunity knocks on your door. Success begins when you decide what kind of person is going to answer that door. Long before the world sees your achievements, your mind has already decided whether you're moving forward or standing still. That's why the first few minutes of your morning are so valuable. They are like the steering wheel of your day. Turn it in the right direction, and your actions are far more likely to follow. Leave it unattended, and you'll spend the rest of the day wondering how you drifted so far from where you intended to go. Here's something I've learned over the years. Every day is a fresh beginning, but not everyone treats it that way. Some people wake up carrying yesterday like a heavy backpack. They carry old failures, old arguments, old fears, and old disappointments into a brand new day. Imagine trying to run a race while dragging chains behind you. That's exactly what negative thinking does. It steals today's possibilities because you're still living in yesterday's memories. Instead, imagine waking up with a different approach. Before checking your phone, before listening to the news, before giving the world permission to influence your thinking, you choose your own words. You speak life into your day. You remind yourself who you are, what you're capable of, and what kind of choices you're committed to making. Those words may seem small in the moment, but never underestimate the power of a repeated message. The mind listens to what it hears most often, especially when it comes from you. Think about it. Athletes don't wait until game day to believe they can win. Musicians don't step onto the stage hoping confidence magically appears. Professionals in every field prepare themselves long before the moment arrives. They rehearse success in their minds before they ever experience it in reality. Why should your life be any different? Every morning is your opportunity to prepare mentally before you enter the challenges waiting outside your front door. Now, don't misunderstand me. Simply saying positive words won't magically erase every obstacle. Life will still test you. You'll still face unexpected problems, difficult people, and moments that stretch your patience. But there's a remarkable difference between someone who enters those situations prepared and someone who enters them defeated before the battle even begins. One person sees obstacles and immediately searches for solutions. The other sees the same obstacles and immediately looks for excuses. The difference isn't intelligence. It isn't talent. It's mindset. Your words become your focus, and your focus shapes your decisions. When your attention is fixed on possibility, you notice opportunities others overlook. When your attention is trapped in fear, you miss the very chances you've been praying for. That's why guarding your thoughts every morning isn't just a motivational exercise. It's practical. It influences how you speak, how you work, how you treat people, how you solve problems, and ultimately, how you build your future. I've often said that success is not something you chase. It's something you attract by becoming the kind of person who deserves it. And becoming that person starts with daily choices. The morning is one of the greatest opportunities you'll ever have to make those choices intentionally. Before the pressures of the day compete for your attention, decide who you're going to be. Decide how you're going to respond. Decide that your standards are higher than your feelings. That's exactly why I want to share 5 simple sentences with you. These aren't empty slogans designed to make you feel good for a few moments. They are reminders that shape your character. They are commitments that influence your behavior. They are principles that, when repeated and lived consistently, begin to change not only the way you think, but the way you live. One sentence at a time, one morning at a time, one decision at a time, you'll discover that the person you are becoming is capable of achieving far more than the person you used to be. Everything begins with the words you choose to believe. Change your morning, and you begin to change your life. Win the morning, and the day will follow. Now let's begin with the first sentence I want you to say every single morning. Today I take full responsibility for my life. Say it slowly. Don't rush through it. Let every word settle into your mind, because these few words have the power to separate ordinary people from extraordinary ones. The moment you accept responsibility, something remarkable happens. You stop waiting. You stop blaming. You stop hoping someone else will come along and rescue you. Instead, you realize that the steering wheel has been in your hands all along. That realization is not meant to burden you. It is meant to set you free. You see, many people spend years searching for the reason their lives haven't changed. They point to the economy, their upbringing, their boss, their family, their lack of opportunity, or even bad luck. Now, are some of those things real? Of course they are. Life is not always fair. Some people begin with advantages, while others begin with obstacles. But here's the truth that changes lives. You cannot always choose your circumstances, but you can always choose your response to them. The day you stop asking, whose fault is this, and begin asking, what can I do about it? Your life starts moving in a new direction. Responsibility is not about carrying guilt. It is about claiming power. Guilt keeps you trapped in yesterday. Responsibility gives you the ability to build tomorrow. Think about a farmer for a moment. The farmer cannot control the weather. He cannot command the rain or stop the wind. But he still prepares the soil, plants the seed, removes the weeds, and protects the harvest. Why? Because he understands that while he cannot control everything, he is fully responsible for the things that are within his reach. Success comes from focusing your energy where it can make the greatest difference. The same principle applies to your own life. You may not control every event that happens to you, but you are responsible for your attitude. You are responsible for your habits. You are responsible for your character. You are responsible for the books you read, the skills you develop, the people you spend time with, and the standards you refuse to compromise. Those choices, repeated day after day, quietly shape your future. Here's something worth remembering. Excuses are comforting, but they are expensive. They cost you opportunities. They cost you confidence. They cost you growth. Every excuse may make you feel better for a moment, but it also keeps you exactly where you are. Responsibility, on the other hand, may feel uncomfortable at first, but it always pays dividends. It forces you to grow stronger than your circumstances. Have you ever noticed that successful people rarely spend their time complaining? It's not because their lives are easier. It's because they've learned that complaining never solved a problem. While others waste their energy explaining why something cannot be done, successful people invest that same energy figuring out how it can be done. That shift in thinking creates a completely different future. Each morning when you say, today I take full responsibility for my life, you're making a decision before the day even begins. You're deciding that no matter what happens, you will not surrender your attitude. If someone criticizes you, you'll learn from it instead of being crushed by it. If a plan falls apart, you'll build a better one. If you fail, you'll study the lesson instead of repeating the mistake. That's what responsibility looks like in everyday life. And let me remind you of something important. Responsibility doesn't mean perfection. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to have days when you fall short of your own expectations. That's part of being human. But responsible people don't stay down. They admit the mistake, learn the lesson, make the adjustment, and move forward. They understand that progress is built on correction, not on pretending to be flawless. Imagine the impact of repeating this sentence every morning for a year. At first, it may simply sound like words. Then it becomes a belief. Before long, it becomes your identity. You begin to approach every challenge differently because you've trained yourself to look inward before pointing outward. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? You'll ask, what is this trying to teach me? That single change in perspective can transform your relationships, your career, your finances, and your confidence. The world doesn't reward people who make the best excuses. It rewards people who make the best decisions. And every worthwhile decision begins with accepting ownership of your own life. No one else can exercise for you. No one else can learn for you. No one else can develop your discipline, strengthen your character, or fulfill your potential. Those are personal responsibilities, and they are also incredible opportunities. So tomorrow morning, before you step into the demands of another day, stand tall and say it with conviction. Today, I take full responsibility for my life. Don't say it because it's easy. Say it because it's true. Say it because every great achievement begins the moment a person decides that their future will no longer be determined by excuses, but by choices. The day you own your life is the day your life begins to change. Now that you've made the decision to take full responsibility for your life, the next sentence becomes incredibly important because responsibility without growth eventually turns into frustration. That's why every morning I want you to say, I am becoming stronger, smarter, and more disciplined every day. Notice the wording carefully. You're not saying, I already know everything. You're not saying I've already arrived. You're declaring that you are becoming. That single word carries tremendous power because it keeps you moving forward. Life rewards progress, not perfection. Too many people refuse to begin because they believe they have to be great before they can take action. But that's not how success works. Nobody starts at the top. Every successful person you admire was once a beginner. They had doubts. They made mistakes. They lacked experience. The difference is they never allowed those things to become permanent excuses. They committed themselves to the process of becoming. Think about a tree for a moment. You don't plant a seed today and expect to sit in its shade tomorrow. Day after day, hidden beneath the surface, roots are growing before anyone sees branches reaching toward the sky. From the outside, it may appear as though nothing is happening, but beneath the ground, the most important work is taking place. Personal growth works the same way. Long before the world notices your success, your habits are quietly building the foundation that will support it. That's why you should never underestimate small improvements. Read 10 pages of a good book each day. Learn one new skill at a time. Save a little money consistently. Improve one conversation. Practice one habit. Those actions may seem insignificant in a single day, but over weeks, months, and years, they become impossible to ignore. Small disciplines repeated consistently create extraordinary lives. Many people are searching for the secret to success when the secret has never really been a secret. It's daily improvement. It's making yourself just a little better than you were yesterday. Imagine two people standing side by side today. One decides to improve by just 1% each day, while the other remains exactly the same. At the end of a week, the difference is barely noticeable. At the end of a year, they are living completely different lives. Growth doesn't happen by accident. It happens by intention. You don't wake up one morning with greater wisdom simply because another birthday has passed. Time alone doesn't make you better. If it did, everyone would become successful eventually. It's what you do with your time that determines who you become. That's why discipline is such an essential part of this sentence. Strength without discipline can become wasted energy. Intelligence without discipline often remains unused potential. But discipline is what transforms dreams into reality. It bridges the gap between what you know and what you actually do. Let's be honest. Discipline isn't always exciting. There will be mornings when you'd rather stay in bed than exercise. There will be evenings when you'd rather waste time than learn something new. There will be moments when shortcuts look more attractive than consistency. Those are the moments that shape your future. Every time you choose what is right over what is easy, you're strengthening your character. You're teaching yourself that your goals matter more than your temporary feelings. Here's something I've observed over the years. Feelings are unreliable leaders. Some mornings you'll feel motivated and other mornings you won't. If your actions depend entirely on your emotions, your progress will always be inconsistent. But when discipline becomes your guide, you continue moving forward whether you feel like it or not. And that's where real confidence comes from. Not from always feeling strong, but from proving to yourself that you can keep your commitments. Every challenge you face is also an opportunity to become stronger. Difficult conversations teach communication. Failure teaches wisdom. Rejection teaches resilience. Delays teach patience. Obstacles teach creativity. The people who grow the most aren't the ones with the easiest lives. They're the ones who refuse to waste difficult experiences. Instead of asking, why is this happening? They ask, how can this make me better? The remarkable thing about personal development is that no one can take it away from you. Money can be lost. Businesses can fail. Opportunities may come and go. But the knowledge you've gained, the discipline you've developed, and the character you've built become permanent assets. They travel with you wherever you go. They help you recover faster from setbacks and recognize opportunities that others overlook. So every morning when you stand before a new day and declare, I am becoming stronger, smarter, and more disciplined every day, you're reminding yourself that success is not a destination waiting in the distance. It's a person you're becoming one decision at a time. You're choosing growth over comfort, learning over pride, and discipline over excuses. Those choices may not make headlines today, but they are quietly shaping the life you'll be living tomorrow. And here's the beautiful part. The stronger, smarter, and more disciplined you become, the more naturally you'll begin to act on your goals instead of merely thinking about them. That's exactly where we're headed next. Because growth reaches its full value only when it turns into action. Become better every day, and success will have no choice but to notice you. Now you've accepted responsibility for your life, and you've committed yourself to becoming stronger, smarter, and more disciplined every single day. The next sentence is where everything begins to take shape, because growth has little value if it never turns into action. That's why I want you to say this every morning with complete conviction. I will take action even when I don't feel like it. Those words may sound simple, but they contain one of the greatest secrets of success. Most people believe successful individuals accomplish extraordinary things because they always feel motivated. Nothing could be further from the truth. They have mornings when they're tired. They have days when they doubt themselves. They experience setbacks, disappointments, and moments when quitting seems easier than continuing. The difference is not that they feel differently. The difference is that they act differently. You see, motivation is a wonderful visitor, but it's a terrible roommate. Some days it arrives early, full of excitement and energy. Other days it doesn't show up at all. If your future depends on waiting for motivation, your progress will always be unpredictable. But discipline says, whether motivation comes or not, the work will still get done. That's the attitude that changes lives. Think about the people who achieve remarkable things. They don't simply do what feels comfortable. They do what is necessary. They understand that feelings are temporary, but the results of consistent action can last a lifetime. Every meaningful accomplishment is built on hundreds of ordinary decisions made on days when no one was watching. Imagine an author writing a book. If that author only wrote when inspiration appeared, the book might never be finished. But writing page after page, day after day, even when the words don't come easily, the story eventually takes shape. Success works exactly the same way. It's rarely created through dramatic moments. It's created through consistent effort repeated long enough for extraordinary results to appear. The challenge is that your mind naturally seeks comfort. It wants the easier path. It whispers, you can start tomorrow. One more day won't matter. You'll feel more ready later. But tomorrow has a habit of becoming next week, next month, and eventually next year. Dreams don't disappear because people lack talent. They disappear because people postpone action until the perfect moment arrives. Here's the truth. There is no perfect moment. There is only this moment. Action creates clarity. Many people spend years trying to figure out exactly how everything will work before they begin. They want certainty before commitment. But certainty rarely comes first. Confidence is built after you take the first step, not before. The person who starts imperfectly often accomplishes far more than the person who keeps planning perfectly. Consider how a child learns to walk. They don't wait until they're guaranteed success. They stand, they stumble, they fall, and they try again. Nobody criticizes the child for falling because everyone understands that's part of learning. Yet as adults, we become afraid of making mistakes. We hesitate because we think failure means we're not capable. In reality, failure is often proof that you're growing. Every action teaches you something. If it succeeds, you gain results. If it doesn't, you gain experience. Either way, you move forward. The only real loss comes from refusing to act at all. Standing still may feel safe, but it quietly steals years of potential. Now let me challenge you with another thought. Success is rarely about making one enormous decision. More often, it's about making hundreds of small ones. Make the phone call, read the chapter, finish the workout, send the application, practice the skill, save the money. Wake up a little earlier. These actions may seem ordinary, but ordinary actions repeated consistently create extraordinary lives. People often underestimate the power of momentum. The hardest part is usually getting started. Once you begin moving, the next step becomes easier. Then another, then another. Before long, what once felt impossible becomes your normal routine. Momentum doesn't come from thinking about action. It comes from taking action. There will be days when everything goes according to plan, and there will be days when nothing seems to work. Don't let either day define you. On the good days, remain humble enough to keep improving. On the difficult days, remain determined enough to keep going. Remember, consistency isn't measured by having perfect days. It's measured by refusing to quit after imperfect ones. Every evening, you'll either have the satisfaction of knowing you honored your commitments or the regret of knowing you surrendered to comfort. That choice is made long before the day ends. It's made the moment you decide whether your feelings will lead your life or your principles will. So tomorrow morning, stand before the mirror and say it with confidence. I will take action even when I don't feel like it. Let those words become a promise you refuse to break, because every goal you've imagined, every opportunity you've hoped for, and every dream you've carried depends on your willingness to move when others remain still. And here's what you'll discover. The more consistently you act despite discomfort, the more resilient you become. You'll stop fearing hard work. You'll stop waiting for ideal conditions. You'll begin to understand that obstacles are not signals to stop. They are invitations to grow stronger. That realization prepares you for the next powerful truth. Because once you've built the habit of action, you'll begin to see every challenge in a completely different light. Your future changes the moment action becomes stronger than excuses. By now, you've taken responsibility for your life. You've committed yourself to becoming stronger, smarter, and more disciplined. You've decided that you will take action whether you feel like it or not. Those decisions have already placed you on a different path than most people. But now we come to two final sentences that will determine whether you keep moving forward when life becomes difficult. Every morning, I want you to say them with complete confidence. Every challenge is preparing me for something greater, and I will leave today better than I started it. Those two statements work together because one changes the way you see your problems, and the other changes the way you measure your progress. When you master both, you stop fearing life's obstacles and start using them as stepping stones. Let's begin with the first one. Every challenge is preparing me for something greater. Now, I know that's not always easy to believe when you're standing in the middle of a difficult season. When plans fall apart, when opportunities disappear, when people disappoint you, or when you experience failure, your first reaction may be frustration. That's human. But don't let your first reaction become your final conclusion. Life has a remarkable way of teaching us lessons that comfort never could. Think about the strongest people you've ever met. Chances are they didn't become strong because everything went according to plan. They became strong because life demanded more from them than they thought they could give. They discovered abilities they never knew they had because difficult circumstances forced them to grow. Steel becomes stronger because it passes through intense heat. Diamonds are formed under enormous pressure. Even nature reminds us that growth often comes through resistance. Why should your own life be any different? Every setback carries a lesson if you're willing to look for it. Failure teaches wisdom that success often cannot. Rejection builds resilience. Delays develop patience, humility. Obstacles force creativity. Every experience, even the painful ones, can become part of your preparation instead of your limitation. I've seen people allow one disappointment to define the rest of their lives. They fail once and they decide they're failures. They hear one criticism and they stop believing in themselves. They experience one closed door and they assume every future door will remain locked. But successful people think differently. They don't ask, why is this happening to me? They ask, what is this preparing me for? That question changes everything. Instead of becoming bitter, they become wiser. Instead of becoming discouraged, they become determined. Instead of allowing hardship to stop them, they allow hardship to shape them. The challenge remains the same, but the person facing it becomes stronger. Now let's connect that with the second sentence. I will leave today better than I started it. This is where lasting success is built, not in dramatic breakthroughs, but in daily improvement. Far too many people judge themselves only by massive achievements. They think if they didn't earn a promotion, build a business, or accomplish something extraordinary today, then the day didn't matter. That's simply not true. A successful day is a day in which you grow. Maybe today you learned something valuable. Maybe you handled your emotions better than yesterday. Maybe you kept a promise to yourself. Maybe you exercised when you didn't feel like it. Maybe you forgave someone instead of holding on to resentment. Maybe you read a few pages of a book instead of wasting another hour. Those victories may seem small, but never underestimate them. Great lives are built from small victories repeated consistently. Imagine putting just one brick in place every single day. One brick doesn't look impressive, but after enough days, you've built a wall. Keep going. And eventually you've built a house. That's how success works. Every disciplined choice is another brick. Every lesson learned is another brick. Every challenge overcome is another brick. The problem is that most people quit because they keep staring at the unfinished house instead of appreciating the brick they placed today. Don't make that mistake. Celebrate progress without becoming satisfied. Be grateful for how far you've come while remaining hungry for how far you can still go. That's the balance successful people maintain. They don't compare themselves with everyone else. They compare themselves with the person they were yesterday. Each evening, before you go to sleep, ask yourself one simple question. Am I better than I was this morning? If the answer is yes, then you're winning, regardless of what happened during the day. Because every improvement, no matter how small, is moving you closer to the life you've imagined. Over time, these two sentences begin to transform the way you live. Challenges no longer intimidate you because you understand they're developing your strength. Ordinary days no longer feel insignificant because you know they're shaping your future. You stop waiting for life to become easier and you begin becoming stronger instead. That's a powerful shift. So tomorrow morning, stand with confidence and declare, every challenge is preparing me for something greater. I will leave today better than I started it. Then go out and prove those words through your actions. Welcome the lessons. Embrace the process. Improve in the little things. Because one day you'll look back and realize that the very struggles you once wanted to escape became the foundation of the success you now enjoy. Turn every challenge into growth and every day into progress. We've come to the final part of this conversation, and I hope you've noticed something important. None of these 5 sentences were chosen because they simply sound positive. They were chosen because they represent principles. Principles that can reshape the way you think, influence the way you act, and ultimately determine the kind of life you build. But here's the truth you must never forget. Saying these words each morning is only the beginning. Success doesn't follow people because they repeat powerful sentences. Success follows people because they live by them. Words have power, but only when they are supported by action. You can stand in front of a mirror every morning and declare that you're disciplined, responsible, and determined. But if those words never influence your choices, they remain nothing more than pleasant sounds. The purpose of these 5 sentences is not to make you feel inspired for a few minutes. Their purpose is to remind you of the standard you've chosen for your life. Let's think back to the first sentence. Today, I take full responsibility for my life. That means when something goes wrong this afternoon, you don't immediately blame someone else. You ask yourself, what can I learn? What can I improve? What choice can I make next? That one decision alone separates leaders from followers. Then remember the second sentence. I am becoming stronger, smarter, and more disciplined every day. Notice it doesn't say you become stronger once. It says you're becoming stronger every day. Growth is never finished. The moment you believe you've learned enough is the moment you stop growing. The most successful people remain students for life. They continue reading, learning, listening, observing, and improving because they understand that the greatest investment they'll ever make is in themselves. Then comes the third sentence. I will take action even when I don't feel like it. This may be the sentence that changes your life more than any other. Why? Because dreams are built by action, not intention. Millions of people intend to become healthier, wealthier, wiser, or more successful. But intentions without action produce nothing. The person who consistently acts on small commitments will always outperform the person with magnificent plans and no follow-through. Then you declared, every challenge is preparing me for something greater. That sentence changes your relationship with difficulty. Instead of fearing hardship, you begin expecting it to teach you something valuable. Instead of asking life to remove every obstacle, you begin asking yourself how each obstacle can make you stronger. That's a completely different mindset, and it creates completely different results. Finally, you promised yourself, I will leave today better than I started it. That's one of the most practical ways to measure success. Don't wait until the end of the year to evaluate your progress. Win today, learn something today, improve something today, encourage someone today, build something today, save something today, finish something today. Because a successful life is nothing more than a collection of successful days. Now imagine living by these 5 principles, not for a week, not for a month, but for years. Imagine waking up every morning with responsibility instead of excuses. Imagine approaching every opportunity with the mindset of continuous growth. Imagine developing the habit of taking action regardless of your emotions. Imagine facing setbacks with confidence, because you know they're preparing you for greater things. Imagine ending every day knowing you made progress instead of simply passing time. Can you see how different your life would become? Here's what many people fail to understand. Success is rarely sudden. From the outside, it often appears as though someone became successful overnight. But what you don't see are the thousands of ordinary mornings that came before the extraordinary results. You don't see the early hours, the difficult decisions, the books read, the habits built, the sacrifices made, and the promises kept when nobody was watching. That's how success is created. It's built quietly. It's built consistently. It's built one choice at a time. And that's wonderful news because it means your future is not determined by where you are today. It's determined by the choices you continue making tomorrow morning and the morning after that and the morning after that. Never underestimate the power of repetition. Whatever you repeat becomes familiar. Whatever becomes familiar begins to influence your thinking. Your thinking shapes your decisions. Your decisions become your habits. Your habits build your character. And your character eventually creates your destiny. So don't allow these 5 sentences to become empty routines. Speak them with purpose. Believe them with conviction. Then walk out into the world determined to prove them true through your actions. Let responsibility guide your choices. Let growth become your lifestyle. Let discipline replace excuses. Let challenges develop your strength. Let every day become a chance to improve. If you do that, something remarkable will happen. You won't spend your life chasing success. One day you'll realize that success has quietly been following you all along. Not because you wished for it, but because you became the kind of person who could carry it with humility, wisdom, and consistency. Tomorrow morning, before the world asks anything of you, make these 5 promises to yourself once again. Then live them, day after day, month after month, year after year. Because extraordinary lives are never built by extraordinary intentions alone. They are built by ordinary principles practiced with extraordinary consistency. Master your mornings, honor your words, and success will have no choice but to follow.